Let me start with the Civil War. I mean, this is a president who we can excuse him for his ignorance of Islamic theology and Islamic history, you know, despite his nominal background in Islam as a child. Excuse me, but the abolitionists were Christians, and the United States literally went to war with itself, unlike any other society before. To extirpate the long-standing, thousand-year long-standing evil of slavery in virtually every human civilization. It's just appalling that he doesn't even grasp that fundamental decency about this country. At any rate, if you look at what he's referring to in terms of the Crusades, certainly, Ben, if I could just share with you something that I wrote 10 years ago now, when I think it was the what was it, the Ridley Scott version of the Crusades was out, and it was, of course, very very apologetic towards Islam and very critical of Christianity. This was from a two-part, very long essay called "Jihad Begot the Crusades," and this is the key part, actually. The jihad is intrinsic to the sacred Muslim texts, including the divine Quranic revelation itself, whereas the Crusades were circumscribed historical events subjected to ongoing and meaningful criticism by Christians themselves. Unlike the espousal of jihad in the Quran, the constituent texts of Christianity, the Old and New Testaments of the Bible, do not contain a form fruits. That's actually a medical term. It's incomplete. Institutionalization of the Crusades. The Bible sanctions the Israelites' conquest of Canaan, a limited domain. It does not sanction a permanent war to submit all the nations of humanity to a uniform code of religious law. Similarly, the tactics of warfare are described in the Bible, unlike the Quran, in very circumscribed and specific contexts. Moreover, while the Bible clearly condemns certain inhumane practices of paganism, it never evoked an eternal war against all the world's pagans peoples, for example, like Quran 9:5 does, so the 9th chapter, the 5th verse of the Quran. And then I just simply said the Crusades as an historical phenomenon were a reaction to events resulting from over 450 years of previous jihad campaigns. So I just did what I could back then to put some of this blather in context. And then, of course, he goes on and talks about the Inquisition. Well, Islam, too, has had its inquisitions. It's had its inquisitions against other Muslims, dating back to the 9th century in the Abbasid Caliphate. And it also had a horrific inquisition that the Berber Almohad Muslims, Maimonides, lived through this in the 12th century, imposed upon the Jews in particular, who were massacred, pillaged, and enslaved by the tens of thousands, and then forcibly converted to Islam. And some practiced crypto-Judaism, and they were subjected to the same practices, curiously, that were adopted by the Inquisitioners in the same region. So you could argue this might have even been an historical prototype, just within a couple of centuries later. So, you know, and the big difference, Ben, I think, is that we in the West, as religious and non-religious people, criticize all of these ideologies, whether they're religions like Christianity and Judaism, or whether they're very, very horrible secular totalitarian ideologies like Nazism and communism. All of the baggage that we have accumulated, and we have accumulated a lot of baggage, unlike in Islamdom, is open to criticism. And that is a profound difference, Ben.